Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yesterday we discussed the Halavatul Iman, and today we will discuss the right of neighbors. Tahrimu Iza'il Jar, and before is an yuhibba li akhi al-muslim ma yuhibbu li nafsihi min khair. In the first bab, an yuhibba li akhi al-muslim ma yuhibbu li nafsihi min khair, we discussed the first part, but the hadith consists of two things. La yu'minu ahadukum hatta yuhibbu li akhihi aw qala li jarihi ma yuhibbu li nafsihi. Hadith number 71 in Raqam al-Musalsal in Sahih Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ says, one should not be a true believer unless he loves for his brother or for his neighbors what he loves for himself. The second hadith is the same, حَتَّى يُحِبُّ لِجَارِهِ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ. The hadith number 73, which is narrated from Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يدخل الجنة من لا يأمن جاره بوائقه. One should not enter paradise unless his neighbors feel safe from his mischief, from his evil behavior, mischief, bad conduct. So لا يدخل الجنة, he will not enter paradise. This is the hadith, hadith number in Raqam al-Musalsal 73. And that's why Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala mentioned, before mentioning Imam Ghazali, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, وَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُشْرِكُ بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Worship Allah, not associate anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and be kind to your parents. وَبِذِي الْقُرْبَى, then with your relatives. And then وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, your neighbor who is your relatives. Waljar al-junub, your neighbor who is not your neighbor but still your neighbor. Wasahibi bil-jams, and your friend. Wabni sabil, and traveler. So see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the right of neighbors after Tawheed and the Zil Qurba. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned who? Al-jar, neighbors. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is another hadith. Ma zala Jibril yu'sini bil jar hatta zanantu annahu sayuwarrisuhu, aw kama qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Jibril keep reminding me the right of neighbors. Hatta zanantu, that I thought annahu sayuwarrisuhu, that he would make him an heir. Virasat mein shamil na kar le. That's much emphasize on the right of the jar. The Prophet ﷺ, the Jibril, you see me, he keep reminding me. There is another hadith about the right of neighbor. In Imam Tirmizi rahmatullahi ta'ala mentioned, Khairul jirani indallahi khairuhum li jarihi. The best neighbor in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, khairuhum li jarihi, the one who is better to his neighbors, the one who is good to his neighbors. See, if you want to be the best neighbor in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so what is the criteria? Khairuhum li jari. And there is another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person is not a true believer whose neighbor is hungry at night, who slept hungry at night, and you as a neighbor don't know what is happening to your neighbor. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala mentioned some hukuk of the neighbor. He say salam in beginning, not interfere on his private matters. You know, sometimes you go too much and involve in all the private matter of your neighbors. So it is not good to be involved all their private matters. उनके बच्चों के मामलात, उनकी बीवी के मामलात, फैमिली के मामलात, जिससे उसको तकलीफ हो, which hurt the feeling of your neighbors. So do not enter to all these things, but always show your kindness to them. Means be the part of solution, not the part of trouble. You should not increase the problem of your neighbors. ये ना हो कि आप अपने पड़ोसी के लिए मुसीबतों में इजाफा करें, उसकी हर चीज़ में मुदाखलत करें. No. So you should be involved, but at the same time you have to be kind, and you should not be the part of problem, always the part of solution. And you should visit him when he is not feeling well. Help him in difficult times, and also condolences and participation in janaza. This is the right of the neighbors. Congratulation in happiness is the right of neighbors. Take care of his children is the right of neighbors. And the hadith is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If your neighbors ask for help, help him. In Mu'jam al-Tabarani, this is hadith. If your neighbor asks for help, help him. If he asks for loan, give him. अगर वो उधार मांगे तो उसको दे दो. बस ये मुँह छुपाने हैं कि भाई नहीं, आज ए ना कुछ मांग ना छोड़े. If ask for loan, give him. When he is sick and not feeling well, visit him. These are the instructions regarding neighbor of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if died, take part in funeral service. This is the right of the neighbor. And also, do not block air by raising your house, your wall. This is also instruction. Nowadays, the council take care of all these things. You know, the council, when they look at all the planning issue, one is that what effect of your building will be your neighbor. But all the council planning, look at in the dark period, in early age, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the people was not aware of any right, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't raise your house or the wall of your house which block the air of your neighbors. अपने पड़ोसी की हवा और रोशनी बंद करना, फरमाए ये तुम्हारा हक नहीं है. So you can understand the right of neighbor, what we made in 21st century rules and laws. The commandment, instruction is given by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these are the basic instruction. Who is your neighbors? From Hazrat Ali karamallahu ta'ala wajhul kareem, man sami'a nida fahuwa jarun. So where the sound of the azan, you get it, all this area, they are your neighbors. But according to the muhaqqiq ulama, the 40 houses around, they are your neighbors. Come must come, the minimum, the 40 houses from your house, they all your neighbors. And they have a right which is mentioned in Quran. وَالْجَارِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْجَارِ الْجُنُبِ وَالصَّاحِبِ بِالْجَنْبِ وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ. And why they mention in this? Because someone is your neighbor and he is your relative. So he got two rights on you. Being a relative, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. And the second, he is your neighbor. And the other one, he is not your relative, but only being a neighbor, he has a right on you. And then the traveler, then your friends, they all have a right. And these are the instruction of the Quran. We nowadays violated all these rights. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, there is a narration, Imam Tirmizi mentioned this, that the sheep or goat was slaughtered. So he 2 times asked that, have you sent the hadiyah, the gift, to my Jew neighbor? The neighbor was Jew. And when he was asked that, you are so much insisting, and he said, I heard the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ما زال جبريل يوصيني بالجار حتى ظننت أنه سيورث. This hadith which I mentioned before. We heard directly the right of neighbor from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were Sahaba. They heard directly the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that what kind of believer you would be when your neighbor is hungry at night and you have all the luxury of your life and sleeping. How you can rest without consulting and without taking care of neighbors who is just next to you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand the right of neighbor. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم علمنا بما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما إنك أنت العليم الحكيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.